Great taste. Sweet. Sour. So good to taste. This is great taste. Great tasting.
Whew, what a crowd, what a crowd. This is Great Taste on solar-powered Crew FM. We welcome you to Hy-Vee for what's going to be a spectacular evening. Thank you very, very much, our musicians in the back, because they are going to continue and give us some great music throughout the show. Tom Allen on guitar, Ingrid Best with vocals. And I'm Steve Boss. Kathy Dubois is alongside.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kath. And we have a great crew here, as you can see. Our special guest is Chef Bertrand Simon, a native of Lille, France. Chef Simon is a classically trained chef who learned to cook by working in the kitchens of top restaurants in Paris and other cities. He was fortunate to begin his career during the great renaissance of French food as it evolved from cuisine classique to nouvelle cuisine. Now, many people are under the impression that nouvelle cuisine is essentially spa food, no fat, tiny portions, but this isn't true. It was a rejection of excessive complications in cooking, and cooking times for many different types of meat were changed to get more out of the natural flavors out of the product, and the cuisine was made with the freshest possible ingredients, all kinds of different things. But it was a renaissance of its own, and something that we're going to get into in just a few minutes with the help of our translator, Suzanne Weiger-Edson. And there are going to be so many things that are going to happen this evening, and there are numerous techniques that are going to be demonstrated. And I want to emphasize one more time that this is a team effort. Chef told me before the show began that he couldn't have accomplished all this without the team from Indian Hills Culinary School. And we have with us Liz Peralta, who's here, Helen Peralta, who is somewhere. Oh, yes, back in the back there. And a number of the students who are, a couple of them in the back, and some of them up here who are helping Chef. And what?
One of the team.
One of the team is somewhere. Helen, I said Helen, yes. I wouldn't forget Helen because Helen made my dessert. And I'm so happy. I'm thrilled. Whoa, those almost ended up on the floor. I'm so thrilled with that. And by the way, since we always like to have fun on the show, Bob Strum, we are not serving food till the end of the show, so stay in your seat and do not come up here and get food for everyone. So all of you will have to curb your appetite until the end of the show. Please turn off your cell phones. Thank you so much for that reminder. I really appreciate that. And all those of you out listening to the broadcast, please turn your cell phones off too. Whatever. We're going to have, here's what some of the menu is going to be like. An ambrosia of poultry with a farce mousseline, poached quenelle and beurre blanc sauce, poached eggs a la vigneron with a wine sauce reduction, and these wonderful cookies for dessert that are a takeoff on macaron. And Chef is going to demonstrate, and I imagine some of the students are going to demonstrate the techniques to make a beurre blanc and to make this wine reduction and whatever else they've done and prepared ahead of time. So I want to just say one last thing without further ado, because one of my favorite books, inspirations in the kitchen for many years, has been Ma Gastronomie, which is a classic of French cuisine by Fernand Point. And the birth of modern nouvelle cuisine actually is credited to many chefs who worked under Fernand Point. People who you have heard of, for example, like Paul Bocuse, Roger Verger. I'm trying to pronounce things correctly. And one of the things that I want to just read is a quote from Fernand Point to kind of put things in perspective. When one thinks of la grande cuisine, one cannot think of money. The two are incompatible. La grande cuisine is extremely expensive, but that does not mean one cannot do very good cooking with inexpensive ingredients. That's one thing that he has said. Every country, every region has its local specialties, about which it's rash to say they're not very good because nature supplies every taste. And he was also not above being actually a philosopher for other things too, such as one should never speak ill of a person. If we want the world to become better, we must try to understand our neighbor in the hope of liking him better. So he was a great, I didn't know him, but he's been a tremendous inspiration and an inspiration to many chefs all over the world. So without further ado, I want to turn everything over to, do you need to get near Chef, Suzanne? Because, yes, that would be good. Because I want Chef to actually explain a little bit about the difference between classical cuisine and also nouvelle cuisine and where it's evolved today. Because now we're at a different point than we were before.
Well, Chef Bertrand Simon, he had a mentor, a teacher, who was more in the school of nouvelle cuisine.
Yes.
And so he learned from him, but his desire was to go from the nouvelle cuisine and evolve into a slightly different school.
Que la cuisine française aujourd'hui, elle est évolutive, technologiquement, socialement et culturellement.
The cooking in France today has evolved. It's become an evolved type of cooking. It's evolved from a technical point of view, the cultural point of view,
Et international.
and internationally. This has all been incorporated into what today is called French cooking.
Les chefs français vont de plus en plus à l'étranger.
And the French chefs now go more and more to other countries and look and see what other countries are doing and cooking and are very interested in that and incorporating that into what is French cooking today. Like here in Iowa.
I think that one of the things that I would like everybody to know that's here is that there'll be plenty of time to ask questions after the show. You don't have to worry, we're not leaving or anything like that. Plenty of time to ask questions and to eat. So they have so much to cover. I'd like to just make sure that we get everything done. So what are we going to do first?
Alors, on va commencer les bases de sauce, parce que ça va être des sauces qui vont être faites par réduction.
We're going to start with the basis. We're going to start with the basis of sauces that are done by reduction.
Alors on va faire un beurre blanc, donc le beurre blanc classique à la française, juste échalotes, vin, poivre et beurre monté.
A
Donc pas de
classic beurre
stabilisant.
blanc,
Voilà.
which is butter, shallots,
Poivre, sel
pepper, salt.
et beurre, beaucoup de beurre.
Lots of butter.
Bien le beurre.
I knew there was a reason I liked French food.
Ce qui est intéressant dans ces sauces, c'est que bien sûr on met beaucoup de beurre, mais on n'en sert pas beaucoup. C'est-à-dire que c'est fort en goût. Voilà.
What's interesting with these sauces is that you use a lot of butter, and the butter is used to really give the taste. Mais on ne sert pas beaucoup.
Voilà, on n'en sert pas beaucoup parce que ça devient vite écœurant. Quand on en sert de trop, c'est plus bon, quoi.
Yeah, but you don't want to ever use too much because then it becomes a little on the sickening side.
Now, are we using butter, or do we use, you know what I'm trying to say, clarified butter, right? Exactly.
Est-ce que vous utilisez du beurre ou du beurre clarifié?
Alors ça dépend, là pour la cuisson des croûtons, on a fait un beurre clarifié. Pour certaines sauces, on utilise un beurre clarifié. Pour certaines sauces, on utilise un beurre
For
clarifié.
certain sauces, they use clarified butters.
Pour les beurres montés, par exemple, il faut pas clarifier puisque les protéines, donc l'écume, sert à obtenir une émulsion.
Sauces you don't want to use clarified because the actual foam that comes from the butter creates a certain effect for the sauce that you want to have. You don't want that to go away.
Et donc, puisqu'on était dans le beurre, je fais une démonstration aussi de beurre frit. C'est historique. C'est des petits. Voilà. Donc un beurre frit. C'était ce qui était servi sur le paquebot France pendant des années. Donc c'est
shipping boats for many years.
le France, c'était un grand paquebot. Et c'est assez original, c'est un beurre qui est passé en friture et qui est donc conservé dans une carapace de chapelure en fait. Donc vous allez voir, c'est assez original.
On the boats where they'd be doing long journeys, and they would fry the butter, and then they would form a crust around it. Comment est-ce qu'ils faisaient la croûte?
La chapelure.
With breadcrumbs, and that way they could keep it for a long time and use it over and over again on a month-long journey.
Donc ça appartient à la culture ancienne, mais comme c'est plus pratiqué, ça redevient très moderne.
It's something that's part of old history, but because of that, just that fact in itself, it's now becoming modern to do it again.
Circle.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle, always.
Just like fashion.
Turning is over. C'est pour le beurre ça? Pour le butter?
For the butter? No, he just asked if that was for the butter.
Oh yes, this is for the
Okay.
butter.
Okay.
We apologize a little bit to our listeners out there who are in front of their radios or in their cars listening, because this is a very different type of show, and if you just stay with us and have patience, I'm sure you'll enjoy, but we have to do the translation, and we'll be as visual as possible with our explanations.
So, we go?
Yes.
Yes?
So they're getting ready to start, right?
We'll start. I begin to the reduce of wine, the 2 with shallots, garlic, no garlic, thyme, persil, parsley, and wine, and reduce, and vinegar? No.
Starting with the wine reduction sauce.
First, on va ciseler très fin.
Cut it very fine.
Pour que les goûts se développent le plus, enfin
so that the taste will develop more completely. Shallots cut very fine.
I think when we move the cutting board slightly forward, everybody will be able to see that. And I want you all to know that the technique that Chef is using to cut this, I know all of you can do this in your own home, right? Yes. Right.
Parce que quand je suis parti.
Move it forward some more.
Yes? Yes, please.
Yeah, if you can, right.
Oui, on va mettre.
So what's happening right now is that Chef Simon is cutting the shallots or shallots as I think that's how it's English, isn't it? Isn't that the English pronunciation? Right. And
you can use the herbs that you want, whatever herbs are in season, and that's going to give your sauce a particular taste according to what herbs you're in season, what herbs you're using.
And as I think was mentioned, we're using parsley. What have we got here? Parsley, sage, thyme, and I don't see any rosemary. So parsley, sage, and thyme. And I can't wait, because Fernand Point, one of the things he said was, "Give me butter, more butter." Right. He was rather large.
I think one of the things that's so impressive about this whole area is just how beautifully everything is cut up and how organized it all is. I really appreciate that.
So this is something that you can always do in your own kitchen. It's probably extremely important, and that is having all the ingredients ready at hand rather than running to your refrigerator to grab something that you're going to need or going to get something that's in your pantry. And I'm speaking to myself because I do it all the time, every single day. I think I have everything out, but I don't. You do, though, usually, don't you?
I'm pretty good about it, yeah. But I really love just the way that he cut his mushrooms, for example. He filleted them and he sliced them so thin and then sliced them another way, and they're just beautiful. And the same thing with the shallots. It's really very inspiring.
It's always inspiring to see someone in the kitchen who knows what they're doing.
Exactly. We're just flying in by the seat of our pants.
Right. Okay, so right now all the different herbs are going in, and mostly they're going in whole. Is that right? They're just being torn a little bit and put in.
Yeah.
Tu ne les coupes pas, tu
Non. Généralement, quand on utilise quand on fait des réductions, des fonds qui vont durer longtemps. Bon là, on va faire une petite quantité. Donc j'ai coupé les échalotes très finement. Mais ça, il faut que ça infuse, il faut que ça prenne le temps d'infuser aussi. Si ça cuit trop vite, c'est pas bon. Donc on va laisser en plus gros.
When you're going to do a reduction, it cooks for a longer time. So the echalots or shallots have to be cut very fine, but the herbs, you leave them in their entirety. You don't chop them up when you're going to do a reduction of the sauce.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah. And he used
So we need to
stems
repeat that again?
Right.
Suzanne, unfortunately your mic cut out, so could you just say it about reduction sauce? Just, I'll hold it for you.
Okay, so the chef is saying that for a reduction sauce, you cut the echalots very fine, but the herbs like your parsley, your sage, and whatever other herbs you're using, in this case thyme, he does not cut those up. He leaves them whole because of the fact that you're making a sauce that's going to reduce and you're going to be cooking it a long time, so you want every part of the herb to give its flavor to the sauce.
Okay, and as far as the wine, I saw the red wine go into. By the way, we're going to drink that wine. You used half of it in there, so that's a drag. But anyway, so
After the service.
after the service, right? So that went into the one sauce, and then the white wine went into another sauce. So which wine went into which sauce?
Quel vin dans quelle sauce?
On a pris un vin corsé, un Bordeaux, dans celui-là.
A red wine, a Bordeaux in the echalot and the spices.
Et un chardonnay, mais on peut utiliser un vin plus simple que le chardonnay. Hein.
Mais c'est la même base, ça? Non.
Non, là, il n'y a que les échalotes. Là.
Alors, you
Échalotes,
put the white wine, in this case it happens to be a Chardonnay, just with the echalot.
on peut mettre aussi une petite pointe de vinaigre aussi.
You can also put a little tiny bit of vinegar in it.
White wine vinegar or white vinegar?
Vinaigre, vin blanc?
Oui, pour casser le gras du beurre.
It's to eliminate the greasy taste of the butter.
Okay, so it's just regular vinegar, by the way, not wine vinegar.
Yeah, it's just a white vinegar.
Okay.
C'est pour la même sauce ou pour deux sauces différentes?
Faut que ça... Pardon?
C'est pour la même sauce ou
Non,
pour
non,
deux
non.
vins?
Là, c'est pour la sauce vin rouge, pour les œufs.
So one is a red wine reduction sauce for the eggs.
À l'avance, donc ça. On va la figer, hein, parce que c'est du vin. On va la remonter après, c'est pour montrer
Some was
aux
made
gens,
in advance.
La réduction au miroir, c'est-à-dire on réduit au minimum.
He's going to reduce the red wine sauce to a minimum, and then it will thicken like we see it here. That was made a little earlier so that you could see it in its final form.
Okay, so this will be very interesting to see. So this is about a quart saucepan, I think, and I would say that there's about 1/3 of a quart in that saucepan. So let's all remember that so that we can see what's going to happen at the end of this reduction, how much is actually left.
Et quand il commence à bouillir,
It has to start to boil,
on flambe.
and then you light it on fire.
Oh, Dennis, is the insurance paid up here at Hy-Vee? Okay.
Et pourquoi est-ce qu'on le flamme?
Parce que ça transforme les sucres, ça transforme les tanins, et c'est ça qui va donner le goût long en bouche. On n'aura pas le goût alcooleux, on aura un goût de tanin, un goût qui va rester un peu astringent en bouche. Et le sucre, enfin ça transforme le sucre.
Lighting it on fire takes the tannins and the sugar out of it, and it transforms the taste so it's not an over alcoholic taste.
Yes, exact.
So it's not just for showmanship.
C'est pas juste pour le spectacle.
Si, ça va être beau, vous allez le voir. Hein.
He says it's going to be a very nice spectacle. Little bonfire.
Best of both worlds. Okay.
Je suis invité, je peux faire ce que je veux.
He's invited.
I'm just glad I moved the dessert because it was in front of this before, and I don't want it ending up on fire. Helen worked too hard on that, I'm sure. Where did she go? I keep missing her. Oh, there she just moved again. It's like amazing. What? Next time you move, let me know where you're going because I don't want to miss you back there, okay?
Doing the reddish.
We're just going to do a little short musical interlude to make sure that we're all set here.
It's a ship, right?
No, it's a
steamboat?
A ferry boat.
Ferry boat that will go across the Atlantic?
A cruise ship. A cruise ship, you can say.
Uh-huh.
Le France, it's a very famous French cruise ship. Like it's like at the top of the line. Yeah.
On solar-powered Crew FM, we're coming to you live from Hy-Vee, and we are here with, I think it's so funny that everybody's moved out of their chairs over to the side so they can see everything that's going on. Dennis, I think we have to figure out a different way for those mirrors to work somehow. Anyway, we're here with Chef Bertrand Simon from Lille, France, and his team from Indian Hills Culinary School, and right now we're working on 2 reductions, a Beurre Blanc reduction and a red wine reduction. And also going on are numerous other processes, but where are we going to be right now? We've got to see where we're picking this up at the present time. So we've got the 2 wine reductions going on, and then Chef, can you explain what you're doing at the present time? Because I think what's happening is some eggs are poaching right now. But Chef is involved in a in a conversation, so we'll continue on our own here. So this is very exciting to have all this happening here, isn't it?
It's very exciting, yeah.
And I'm just so sorry that the other chef that we know so well, Chef Gordon from Indian Hills, the director, isn't here, so we're all going to wish him well. He's recuperating right now, so we're all going to wish him well. And let's have a big hand for Chef Gordon. Thank you. And hopefully he's listening and enjoying this very much. So right now both sauces are reducing. We don't have to do anything. We leave them on a low flame or a medium flame. What do we have?
In first time, low flame. For the white wine, we boil first to flame.
They have to bring it to a boil so you can light it on fire.
Yes, and after slowly. For a good cooking, we take time. Be cool.
Slow food, right? Exactly.
Have to take time and be cool.
And be rock too.
And watch.
After. Be cool, be rock.
Uh-oh, we're going to, you can't see this, but we're going to light this on fire very shortly here. If it responds, we're going to light it on fire, right?
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, okay. We're not going to light it yet. If you don't hear from us after this, you'll know what happened.
So it looks like they've got a really nice production with the eggs. So they explained to me that they're going to do something with the bread, which is a baguette sliced about a ½ inch thick. And then they've poached some eggs, and they've sauteed some prosciutto and some mushrooms, which are all going to go into the egg dish. So that should be kind of exciting.
Right. So the first thing I wanted to discuss then about this egg dish is the proper poaching of an egg. And whoever wants to explain that, because I'm sure you know the technique by now, please come over here so that you can talk within the mic. Kelly, Sarah, somebody come over and talk about the proper poaching of an egg, because I don't really know how to do it. I never make poached eggs at home.
Okay, well, basically the proper poaching of an egg is you bring your water up to a boil, and then you turn it back down to a lower heat. And then as you want to drop your egg, you put it in a little bowl first, crack it to the bowl, and then you get a nice stir going so that you have a nice swirl going around.
In the water.
In the water. And then you drop your egg into that center swirl, and that's what wraps the egg whites up around the center yolk. So you get that beautiful restaurant egg instead of the ones that we used to do at home that had legs and arms on them. And so...
And is there anything in the water? Is it just water?
It's water, and we use just about a capful of white vinegar in it, and that also helps solidify the whites.
Any salt?
No seasoning in it.
Okay. And how long are they going to poach? And first of all, is the water simmering or?
Now it's simmering. Once we get it up to a boil, reduce it back down to a simmer. And so because eggs, you don't want to cook on a high heat, it makes them rubbery. And so low and slow. So once we get it hot and reduce it back down, then we get the swirl going, drop the egg into it so you get that beautiful round egg. And then Sarah's just sitting there watching it. And what you're watching for is a texture in the egg. The egg, you want it to be a little bit jiggly, but you don't want to see any clear, super soft on the outside of the white. And what you're looking for in the center of the egg is a nice gold color, but it's almost like a pudding texture would be the perfect center to a nice egg. And
Okay, so about how long is that going to take to reach that texture?
I would say anywhere from about, 2 minutes, Sarah? Yeah. Yeah. You're going to watch it because every stove has its difference. You know, she's using a larger pot. It's depending on how much water you have in it, how many eggs. She's dropping 6 at a time. And so, of course, once you drop 6 at a time, it's going to cool the water down.
Okay, so 2 to 3 minutes. And
Then you've got it in a bath, and the bath is just...
What we've done is we've put a bath of warm water over there. And usually when you're going to hold over eggs like that, we aren't going to cook them all the way to that pudding texture yet because we're going to drop them into a warm water to hold them over. And that's what a lot of restaurants do is they will do their pre-cook and then drop it into...
everybody's applauding for the flame. Yeah,
Because it was boiling, starting to boil, and the fumes are coming up. That's why he could light it now and not earlier.
So how long...
s'éteint, on va réduire le feu pour que ça se réduise au maximum.
And then when the flame goes out, then he'll lower the gas flame and the sauce will reduce slowly down and reduce a lot.
So essentially, it's going to go out at the proper point to accomplish what you want to accomplish, which is
Yes.
getting rid of the tannins and getting that alcohol taste out.
Yes.
It's kind of a natural process.
It's
in other words.
basically the alcohol that's burning.
You can
Once it's
change
burnt,
your
it's burnt.
And it's the red wine, by the way, that's being reduced right now with the flame. And the
all what you drank when we...
He says, imagine what that alcohol does to you when you drink it.
And what about the white wine reduction? Is there going to be a flame in that one?
are we going to light the white wine too, or only the red?
Please?
Do we light the white wine too, or only the red wine?
Two.
Both.
Yeah.
Ah, good.
White and...
We light them all.
I prefer perhaps white wine. I prefer white wine.
Okay, so, and now when you're reducing the sauce, I see it seems to be on a very high heat. Is that what we want to keep it on while the flame is going?
You keep it on a high heat until the flame burns out. In other words, until the alcohol burns off, and then you lower the heat and cook it until it reduces greatly.
I have a funny feeling that I'm had a senior moment because I think we covered that a second ago. Yes.
Yes, we
That's
did,
right.
Steve.
It happens sometime. All right. So the poached eggs, one question I have about them is, Kelly, is that when you put them in the warm bath, aren't they going to continue to cook though?
That's why when you do a restaurant style and you're doing a large amount, that's why I said we would cook them not as long so that, you know, you're not going for that pudding. You're actually still going for an undercooked because we're going to hold them over. And they may continue to cook that way. And so we'll want to go ahead and cook them a little less because they will be brought up to heat again.
That was my question. So you're going to cook them again, really?
Well, in a restaurant you would.
Okay.
Restaurant you would. Today we're holding them over in a hot water, so we're just going to serve them straight out. So.
Right now there's another pot being heated with water, salt, and a little vinegar. And what's that going to be used for, Liz?
That's a chef's technique to poach the eggs. He's going to show us a different way of doing it.
Ah, new technique for poaching the eggs. Okay, excellent. Can't wait to do that.
We always love it when there's salt in the water, right?
We always love salt. Salt and butter, two of our favorite things, right? So I think one of the things that I'm interested in is, among the students, how I've got to believe that the last couple of days with Chef Bertrand has been just magnificent for you in terms of, learning so many different types of techniques. Some of them I'm sure you've already been exposed to, but in a slightly different fashion probably.
Oh, yeah, it's been wonderful. We've gotten to, we've done forced meat mostly with him, and he showed us some fabulous techniques because early on when we started to do forced meat through a screen, we did it without adding anything, and so we would chop up the chicken, and get it really, really fine as we could, and then we'd have to put it through this screen. And the first time that it was done in our class, it took a couple hours just to get one chicken through this screen. And then Chef came and showed us his technique where he would chop it all up. He would add cream and egg whites to it, and the emulsification made it smoother. So, in 15 minutes, we had the same amount of meat through the screen. And
Is this the mousseline?
yes, this is the mousseline that we have tonight mixed in, is the mousseline that we've made in class.
So we're going to have to get to that eventually at some point.
Yes, yes, and it is well worth eating.
It's working right now. You can talk all you want, Suzanne. When it doesn't work, James will look at me and go, hey, put that microphone over in front of Suzanne.
Well, I just thought everyone would like to know that Chef Simon said that he is in the States for the first time and that he is working with all this group from Ottumwa, the two sisters, Liz and Helen and Sarah and Kelly and Nick. And he said he is working with this group as though he had been working with them for 10 years. So it's like perfection.
Yes, it's true.
Okay, so now we have another thing going on. So this is, I want to try to make sure that those of us who are listening to the those of our audience who are listening to the broadcast can understand exactly what's happening here, because there are so many things going on so that they could actually recreate these dishes at some point. So right now, Sarah is making, well, I know in Italian it might be a crostini, but I'm sure that's not what we're making here. So what are we making over there?
Basically, we are making toasts. I mean, it's French.
Well,
It's buttered toast, and it's a very high flame.
I don't see a toaster, so I want to know about this technique then, because we're going to do this at home if we want to actually toast the bread. It's called mouche? Mouche?
Mushy.
It's a crouton. A crouton.
Okay, so it is being fried in clarified butter.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're cutting slices of baguette, basically, here, and you're putting it into a very hot pan that has clarified butter in it, and then you're going to just toast both sides. That's what's going to happen until they turn brown?
Yes.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
You can speak in French, it's fine. Suzanne can translate. Oh, we're just putting it in, we're putting in the toasts into the pan and just toasting them until they turn brown on each side.
Il demande
Yes, each side, yes.
si tu le mets dans le beurre clarifié,
Le beurre
pour les
clarifié,
toaster,
voilà, pour les toaster.
jusqu'à ce qu'ils soient un peu dorés.
Parce que c'est meilleur que dans l'huile. C'est meilleur que pour passer dans l'huile.
It,
Ça a du-
it
ça a un meilleur
comes
goût.
out much better than doing it in oil.
So it's clarified is very important in this technique, because if it's brown, if it's butter on such a high heat, it's going to actually brown and be really dark brown and not have the right taste, I'm sure, and not have the right look to it.
Yes, actually, butter that has not been clarified will actually burn quicker than butter that has been clarified. So at this point, we can get a nice toast on our bread, and it's not going to get a burnt, nutty taste. It's just going to get a really nice nutty taste on it.
And since things are, in a sense, we're going from one thing to another here to keep everything in perspective, this particular dish is the dish with the egg. And so I think what we're going to end up with is we're going to end up with a piece of toast, a poached egg on top of that piece of toast. On top of the poached egg is going to be either a combination of mushrooms and prosciutto or ham, julienne, that's been julienne, or it's just going to have some mushrooms on it. Without the prosciutto, and then it's going to be topped with a sauce. And which sauce is that? Is that going to be the red wine sauce or the beurre blanc?
I am not sure.
The beurre blanc. The beurre blanc is going to be on top of this particular dish. So that's amazing. And right now I'm looking at the beurre blanc sauce. Can you guys? You can't see this, can you? Can I put it here? Can you see it? It's. Here we go. So. This is the beurre blanc, and it's just full of the shallots right now, and the white wine still reducing, and the herbs. Actually, the herbs have been taken out, so we missed that. We missed that point. We have to get to that point. So when did the herbs? No, the herbs were in the. I've gotten very confused here. The herbs, so that people who are listening don't get confused. The herbs went into the red wine sauce, and into the beurre blanc. We just have the shallots, right?
Yes. And the beurre rouge must reduce like a mirror. Yes, like a mirror, like we say in French, essence, like essence.
Essence.
Une essence très très réduite On appelle ça au miroir. C'est
Miroir.
réduire au miroir, ça s'appelle.
To reduce a sauce a large amount, it's called reducing it to a mirror. Et on fait ça spécialement.
Comme un sirop.
It becomes like almost like a syrup. Et on fait ça avec le blanc ou le rouge?
Celui-là, le vin rouge.
So that we're talking about the red wine reduction sauce that it will reduce down to almost like a butter.
Is it strained? Is the red sauce wine sauce strained?
Tu enlèves tout à travers une tamis ou quelque chose? Yes, it will be strained.
Le beurre rouge, la sauce rouge est filtrée. On monte au beurre et on sert. En revanche, le beurre blanc.
Alors attends. He will reduce the red wine sauce and then take out the herbs. And then you add what?
Add butter.
He adds butter to it, and then it's beaten.
On monte au beurre. On monte au beurre. On monte au beurre soit au fouet, soit à la casserole.
With a beater, you beat it to a butter-like consistency.
Et pour le beurre blanc, on a deux possibilités. Soit on filtre.
There are two possibilities for the beurre blanc sauce.
Ça devient un beurre nantais.
You can either do it with add cream to it, and then it becomes a beurre nantais from the city of Nantes.
Ou on monte directement sur la réduction en laissant les échalotes et on est dans le beurre blanc classique.
Or you on laisse les échalotes dedans. Or else you can leave the shallots in it and monter avec les échalotes.
Monter avec les échalotes et le beurre.
Then you would beat it with shallots and butter. There are two different ways.
Mais on a aussi le droit de le passer au chinois aussi. Donc on a quand même.
If you really want to, you can pass it through a chinois as well to take all of the shallot and herbs out of it.
Et les bases, quand les bases sont respectées, après on a la liberté quand même d'en sortir, quoi.
When you respect the basis of the sauce, then you can do any number of different things to it to have a different final sauce. But you have to do the basic part correctly.
About how much percentage reduction occurs in the liquid?
How much reduction?
What percentage of reduction occurs in the liquid? So if you start out with 2/3 of a cup, what do you end up with? Or if you start out with a cup, what do you end up with?
C'est réduit de quel pourcentage? Depuis que tu commences
on arrive au cinquième.
You arrive at 1/5. About.
After we judge with our nose, our eyes, and to quality of wine.
Yeah, so you'll judge by the smell, by your eye, by the quality of wine that you've used to do your beurre blanc or beurre rouge sauce.
Par le goût aussi.
And also by the taste.
Donc, on peut modifier selon le goût qu'on va avoir.
You can modify it according to the taste that you're aiming at.
Alors, rien ne nous empêche en cours de préparation de
Quality of the wine makes a big difference.
On peut rajouter un peu de vin en cours de préparation si on trouve que ça manque de concentration, par exemple.
He's saying that, for example, if you feel like, according to the taste, that it's not quite right, you can add a little wine even after you think your sauce is finished.
C'est nous le chef, on décide. C'est le chef qui décide.
It's the chef that decides.
Yeah, it's so interesting because there used to be a time, at least in the States, I'm sure this wasn't the case in France, but when I was growing up, people would buy the cheapest wines they possibly could to cook with. And it's probably, many people probably still think the same way. Well, we're not going to drink it, so therefore we're just going to buy something very cheap. And there are products specifically that on the shelf that are not in the wine department that are called cooking wine.
Ici, on a la tendance d'utiliser les vins pas de tout côté pour cuisiner. Les vins vraiment, pratiquement des vins qu'on ne boit pas.
Je vous rassure, chez nous aussi. Chez nous aussi, un jour, Paul Bocuse a dit, vous croyez pas que je mets du champagne dans ma sauce pour mon turbo? Il utilisait un vin plus simple.
He's saying that even Paul Bocuse also used cheap wines to make some of his sauces. He certainly didn't use champagne all the time.
But if we can, we should use a wine that...
Yes, we use, for example, champagne in a sauce, but at the end of the sauce, not all just for season.
You would use the champagne in a sauce if you are putting it into the sauce at the end. In other words, you wouldn't put a champagne in a sauce that you're going to cook the champagne away.
So you finish it with a better quality.
Yes.
And something that
Yes.
tastes better.
Well, what's confusing to me, though, is one of the things that we're trying to do with this process is we're trying to get rid of the alcohol taste. So if we're adding it at the end, then I'm not sure I understand. There must be some kind of differential there. So while you check that out, we're going to go to a little musical interlude and come back, and you'll tell us exactly what happens here.
Alors, demande. Il dit, je ne comprends pas pourquoi.
This is just a little samba built upon one single note. Other notes are bound to follow, but the note is still this note. Now this new one is the consequence of the ones we've just been through, as I'm bound to be the unavoidable consequence of you. There's so many people that can talk and talk and talk and just say nothing or nearly nothing. I have used up all the skill I know, and at the end I've come to nothing or nearly nothing. Now I come back to this one note, as I must come back to you. I will pour into this one note all the love I feel for you. Now there are those who want the whole show. Do, re, mi, fa, la, ti, do. I will pour into this one show. You better know the note you know.
Ingrid Best and Tom Allen. Next week on Great Taste, right here, live from Hy-Vee, Emily Shaw and Isha Kinger are going to present raw foods that can be easily adapted into your diet. So this is something that's going to be very non-invasive for all of us who might be hesitant that we want to, what? We want to eat raw foods all the time? I mean, because that's the way I feel. So this is going to be a simple way to integrate some nice raw foods into your diet, things that are very tasty. And I cannot describe, if you have never tasted one of Isha's desserts, how absolutely amazing it is. So I invite all of you to either tune in on Solar Powered Crew FM through the wonders of technology at KRUUFM.com, or to be here at Hy-Vee at 7 p.m. next Wednesday night. The following week after that, that's the 22nd, many of these same students will be here again to present another Indian Hills extravaganza. And I don't know what we're doing yet, but Sarah knows, so she's going to tell us.
We're doing home canning next time. I'm gonna do some demos on making fruit jellies. Kurt Gowdy is gonna be here. He's gonna do, I think, a salsa demo, and we might get Chris Batterson to do some fruit dehydration in here.
That sounds fantastic. And the following week, on the 29th, we aren't live, so that's something that you need to remember. But the interview on the 29th is with John Martin Taylor, author of Hop and John's Low Country Cooking Recipes and Ruminations from Charleston and the Carolina Coastal Plain. And somebody tonight is going to walk away with this book. This is the 20th anniversary edition published this week by the University of North Carolina Press. And John is an amazing guy, and we've already done the interview, and I invite you really to listen on the 29th because you're going to learn some fascinating things about the history of low country cooking. So we're going to give this book away after the show, so everybody get ready. And also I want to wish happy birthday to Shelley Gratson because she's here and it's her birthday, so happy birthday. She should get the book. Now, who said that? You know what this means? the person who wins the book gets the opportunity to give it to Shelley if they want to. Boy, does that put pressure on people. Anyway, all right, so it looks to me like we've got another technique that we want to talk about, and that is the chicken breast.
Wait, first we have to find out the answer to the question.
Yes, you're right. You see, another senior moment. I've already forgotten that we broke to get the answer. So, Suzanne, do you have that answer for us?
Well, he basically said that when you're making a wine reduction sauce, you can use any kind of wine. And he said in France they'll very often use a very simple terroir wine, you know, from one little area, because basically it does get boiled off. And what gets boiled off are the tannins, the sugar, and the alcohol. Those three things. Now, the reason for using a very fine wine to add at the end of it is because the chef wants to give a specific flavor or taste or direction to the sauce. And you put it in at the end when you're not going to cook it down so that it remains there and you have the taste.
So you want that stronger effect at that point.
Et on trouve des vins blancs qui ne sont pas des champagnes, qui ont, une fois réduits, les mêmes qualités, puisque c'est les mêmes cépages, c'est les mêmes, c'est le même vin. Donc on va avoir les mêmes arômes finalement qu'un champagne, puisque c'est le même, c'est pas la méthode de vinification qui va faire le goût, c'est le raisin qui fait le goût.
So the wine, when you're making your sauce, it's more the vineyard and the type of grape that's going to give the flavor to it. So if you use a champagne or you use a white wine that comes from the same area, you're going to more than likely come to the same end. It's because of the vineyard, the wine, the grape. If it's the same one as champagne, but it's not champagne, it's just a very fine white wine, you'll have the same result.
And how do we know how much to put in? I mean, is it just a little taste of it, or?
Comment est-ce qu'on sait combien on met quand on veut rajouter du vin à la fin pour donner un goût particulier?
On goûte.
You taste it.
C'est comme ça qu'on apprend. C'est-à-dire que dans un livre de recettes, on va vous donner une recette pour faire un beurre blanc. Il y aura une chance sur deux que ça rate ou qu'il soit pas bon parce que vous n'aurez pas encore l'habitude du goût que ça doit avoir ou que vous aimez. C'est-à-dire que il faut après s'adapter.
He's saying that basically when you make a beurre blanc or a beurre rouge sauce, he says you'll probably goof it up several times before you get it right. He says it's a question of practice, a question of taste, and you know, you just keep doing it until you have the eye, the feel, the taste, the look, the amounts.
Le meilleur moyen, c'est que vous alliez goûter un beurre blanc chez un chef qui sait cuisiner, qui sait le faire. Et après, vous en faites votre idée. Et après, vous essayez de reproduire, quand vous cuisinez, ce que vous avez senti quand vous avez goûté la première fois. Après, vous faites votre propre beurre blanc. C'est-à-dire que vous pouvez y rajouter ce que vous voulez dedans, finalement. Vous pouvez rajouter plus ou moins d'échalotes, pas de vinaigre, quelques herbes. Après, vous êtes libre de le décliner comme vous préférez.
This is a very good suggestion he has. You go to a very fine restaurant and you taste a sauce that you like, made by a chef who you know is a very good chef, and then you go home and you start practicing, and you know what you're looking for because you've already tasted a fine one.
Can't we just ask?
Tonight.
Can't we just ask the chef what he did?
On peut demander simplement au chef ce qu'il a fait.
Ah bah si, mais les chefs sont des menteurs.
He says yes, but chefs are liars.
What else can you tell us about chefs?
Qu'est-ce qu'on devrait savoir d'autre?
Non, mais la chose, c'est que on peut tous comprendre, mais il faut qu'on comprenne d'abord ce qui se passe dans la casserole, ce qui se passe dans notre cuisine, qu'on connaisse ses produits, et qu'après, après on est libre de changer, de reproduire ou de pas reproduire.
Yes, he says it's very important to know what you're cooking with, the quality of the ingredients, and to know what's going on in your saucepan or your frying pan. And he said that you learn either with chefs or you learn it through books or eating
out. Right.
dining in fine restaurants.
And I think that means you must pay attention to what you're doing in the kitchen. You cannot just put something on and walk away. You have to really pay attention to it. Suzanne, you need to. I know, but you need to. He didn't. Yes, yes, very.
Yes, we trust. We trust.
You must pay attention to what you're doing in the kitchen. That's what I was trying to convey.
Lui, il était en train de dire qu'il faut faire attention à ce qu'on fait dans la cuisine, comment on cuisine, comment on le fait, etc.
Oui.
Yes, absolutely.
That's very simple, right?
Il faut aussi avoir, quand on travaille avec des collaborateurs, il faut avoir confiance en eux, les yeux fermés, quoi. Il faut savoir avec qui on travaille aussi.
You have to know who you're working with and have confidence in the people you're working with. And he's absolutely thrilled with the team that he's been working with since he's been here in the States.
Well, see, most of us are working with either ourselves or our children, so I'm not sure about the confidence part.
On va commencer les ambroisies de volaille. Donc c'est le plat qu'on va servir avec le beurre blanc. Donc comme on a fait quelques préparations ce matin.
So this is chicken, and this is going to be served with the white, the beurre blanc sauce, and it's going to be stuffed with.
Yes. Donc c'est une escalope de volaille, enfin c'est un blanc de volaille qui a été aplati ce matin. Et on a préparé une farce mousseline, donc une farce classique de volaille. Donc vous prenez c'est la chair de volaille qui est mixée très finement avec blanc d'œuf et crème.
So the stuffing. First of all, this is a piece of chicken which has been very thinly flattened.
And is this a chicken breast?
Yes.
C'est
half or a whole chicken breast and skinless?
Yes, it's a chicken breast.
A whole chicken breast, one half a chicken breast and skinless. Is that correct?
See, without the skin. Yes.
On l'a ouvert comme un portefeuille, quoi, pour faire une escalope.
Open it like a wallet and then hammer it.
Open it like a wallet and then hammer it. Okay, so that's the technique. It's a whole breast opened it's a whole skinless breast opened like a wallet and then flattened. And if you can see Chef right now, he's just rolling it back up again so you can see that it used to be a whole chicken breast. And then he actually scored it, I think, didn't he? Didn't he score it? Can you ask him?
Est-ce que tu l'as coupé pour le rendre plus tendre?
Oui, c'est parce qu'il y a une partie où il y a quelques petits nerfs. Si on les enlève, on va faire des trous. Donc, on a juste quelques petits coups pour éviter la rétractation.
Yes, he scored it just a little bit to avoid it shrinking up because there's that nerve-like skin that could make it shrink up.
So now the mousseline is going to go into the chicken breast.
Elle a été donc mixée, crémée. On a ajouté des blancs d'œufs et ensuite ça a été passé au tamis. Vous imaginez le travail que ça demande de passer une farce de cette sorte au tamis et après assaisonner. Donc on l'a assaisonné là spécialement pour changer, pour donner un peu de goût. Il y a des herbes dedans, il y a des raisins dedans pour donner un petit peu un goût.
Il y a des raisins?
Oui, on a mis un peu de raisin sec pour donner un petit goût.
C'est du poulet.
Ah, ça c'est du poulet, oui. On a mixé,
so this is chicken, Tammy. So this is chicken that has been mashed, has been pushed through a sieve. It has egg white.
This is the technique that Sarah was talking about.
Cream.
Blanc d'œuf.
Egg white, yes, and a little bit of grapes.
Oui.
A little bit of grapes?
Yes. But to prepare this, it's very long and tedious because it has to be grapes.
Well, we have people in the audience yelling out raisins. All right, so are they grapes or raisins?
Des raisins secs?
Oui, des raisins secs.
No, it is raisins, yes.
Thank you. Who said raisins? Raise your hand. Nice job. Excellent.
Parce que ce matin, j'ai travaillé avec des étudiants qui ont voulu aussi, eux, en travaillant avec moi, développer leur créativité. Donc, ils ont essayé, ils ont proposé. Et puis moi, c'est mon job aussi d'aider les jeunes à à s'extérioriser, à développer un peu leur créativité.
So this morning he prepared this together with his students, and his students came up with the idea of putting a little bit of raisins in it. It was their idea, and he always wants to encourage new chefs to be creative. Now he'll guide them and say, yes, that's a good idea, or no, that's not a good idea. But they came up with that idea this morning, and he thought it was a good one, so we're going with it.
Okay, so actually what's happening then is the mousseline is being just put out onto the flattened chicken breast and spread out over the entire breast. And now Chef has some saran wrap that he is going to carefully lift the chicken breast up onto the saran wrap, and then we're going to see what happens after that. He's going to actually fold the breast up, I imagine. And, right, he's gonna roll it up, right? He's gonna roll that breast up, and every part of the breast is covered. It's covered really, just so that you know, the mousseline is about, I'd say, a good 1/8 of an inch thick, or more than that, maybe 1/4 of an inch, right? Thick.
Consistency of perhaps a hummus, to give an idea how creamy it is.
Yes, it's very creamy. It's not a dry hummus. It's a very creamy hummus with plenty of olive oil, except the mousseline doesn't have that. And now Chef is rolling that up using the saran wrap. And what I'd like to do, because we only have a few minutes left of our broadcast, is I'd like to ask Chef if he could just we'll finish up, obviously, the rest of the technique and all the food after the broadcast ends. And Bob Shrem can actually serve food if he wants at that point. But what we want to do is I want to ask Chef if he could give some of the most important things that he feels like it's necessary to communicate to the home cook. How to actually learn, and utilize some of these classics of French cuisine at home. Yeah, go ahead. You can explain that to him. That's absolutely fine.
Soft as an easy chair, love fresh as the morning air, one love that is shared by two, I have found with you.
It's important to know that you're doing something that's going to bring pleasure to your family. And then he said also that it's important to know the products that you're working with. For example, for us, a lot of us, it's very important that it be organic, that it be locally grown, etc. And also he said that it's good for us. To keep these things in mind when you're cooking at home will make your cooking better.
Wonderful.
Et en même temps, c'est aussi un mode de vie, puisque on va pas cuisiner chez soi comme on cuisine dans sa cuisine professionnelle. On va mettre de la musique, on va se faire plaisir, on va prendre son temps. Il y a des gens qui vont rentrer dans la cuisine, on cuisine pour les gens qu'on aime bien généralement, les amis.
He said also it's a way of life. He says when you're cooking in your home, it's different than if you were cooking in a professional kitchen. And so if you're cooking at home, you have music playing, you're happy, you're preparing something that's going to make everybody happy. So all of that is part of the whole package.
You've been listening to Great Taste on KRUULP 100.1 FM. The solar-powered voice of Fairfield, Iowa. Chef Bertrand Simon has been our guest, and we've been at Hy-Vee live, and we're thrilled to have all of you here.
Great taste. Sweet. Sour. So good to taste. This is great taste. Great tasting.